I guess should the court reporter, I guess we should have the court reporter swear Ms. Johnson in. So I can't find the court reporter on this, but I know he or she is there somewhere. So if you wouldn't mind swearing Ms. Johnson in.
Your Honor, I don't think we have a court reporter.
Oh, I
We
thought
just
we did.
have somebody taking the minutes.
Oh, okay.
So
All
if
right.
you
Then
want to swear her in, you can certainly
I
do
will
that.
do the honors. Ms. Johnson, if you want to raise your right hand, you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Uh, yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Johnson. I'll try to cut to the chase here and get to your perspective on, frankly, what we just heard from Ms. Joe. Were you in Ms. Joe's office on February 7th when when Councilmember Graham visited her?
yes.
And do you recall where Sonia Andrews was during that exchange?
Interesting to hear Lena's this statement. What I recall is like Sonia was either by the door or sitting on the chair next to the door. I think.
All
she was,
right.
but yeah.
Okay. And do you recall where you were standing when this exchange took place?
Yes, I was next to Lena,
All right.
standing next to Lena.
Okay. And where was Councilmember Graham in relation to you and Lena?
Right next to us. Lena was sitting here, her computer in front of her. I was to her right, and he was kind of in front of me. So we were like really close together.
All right. And as a preliminary matter, would you say that there was more of an exchange than just a hello, have a nice weekend, or did you discuss things of substance?
No, he did not come to the office to say hello, have a nice weekend. He wanted to, I guess, learn about this project, and apparently there was another project that I don't remember. And so that's why Lena showed the status of the report.
Do you recall who asked Lena to pull up and to open up the projects on her computer?
I think when he said he wanted to see what the budget was for that project or status, I probably asked her to show, because we don't know that off the top of our head. So she had to pull it out.
All right. And you heard Lena testify that he requested that they take out or move out the 68th Street project. Is that consistent with your memory?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes,
Okay. Do you recall the specific words that he used?
I do not.
All right. And when he made that request, was that request made to Lena or to you, or can you testify as to whom he made the request?
It was a request made in the room. When he looked at the report, this is a budgeting planning system, and he looked at that. There was budget for next year for construction, and he said something to the effect, "I don't want that there," or something like that. Let's move it out.
Okay. I'm going to now show you what has been marked, provided as Exhibit A from the complainant. Are you able to see that document on your screen?
Yes.
And just looking at it, can you tell what kind of document this is?
Yes, this is the budget to actual report that Lena mentioned in her deposition.
And do these email addresses look like the email addresses you have in the city of Scottsdale?
Yes, this is the project manager, the city engineer at that time, and the finance person, and a transportation manager.
Okay. And so, Your Honor, I would like a request to admit Exhibit A into evidence.
Any objections? A or B? Thank you. A or B admitted.
And let's see, this email was written by Ms. Joe. Do you recall whether you asked her to write this, or can you give us any background on this?
Yes, right after our interaction with Councilman Graham, I asked her to let the department know, the project managers know what had just happened, because we do that. Whenever we make any type of change to any projects, we let the project managers know what's going on with their budgets.
All right. And in this case, the email says that Vice Mayor Graham requested that they adjust the timeline. Is that true? Is that what your memory of what happened is true?
Yes.
All right. All right. In the interest of time, I'm going to move us to our what's been marked as Exhibit B. And I can tell you it was produced in a public records request as a CIP planning document. I'm going to show you the document a little bit. So there's some notes up here, and then there are these. It's a very long spreadsheet that has some highlighting in it because this was a request made about the project. Does this look like the CIP planning document?
It is, yes.
All right. I'd like to move Exhibit B into evidence.
No objection.
Objection.
All right, B will be admitted.
All right, Ms. Johnson, I want to call your attention to these notes here at the beginning, and it says that the project has a number of TKO2, etc. And then it says the project in question had a potential amendment created on February 7th, but then the amendment was deleted on March 5th. Can you explain what those notes mean?
It's the record of what happened to the system, to the project in the system. So as Lena mentioned, whenever we make a change to a project, we don't go in and change the actual record of the project. We create a new record, which we call amendments. Any changes are recorded as an amendment. So that day, in front of Mr. Councilmember Graham, she made the amendment to move that to outer years, which we call it future. And then after you have the emails, the interactions with Mr. Keaton and the departments, that amendment was deleted on March 5th.
Okay. All right. I do have one more exhibit that I want to share with you. Oops, let me get it open first.
Hi, Dan. This is Analia at 3:30 on Wednesday, the 19th. I replied to your email regarding the 68.
I'm sorry, hold on. Let me do this again. Okay, all right. All right, so this has been marked as Exhibit C, and I'm just going to share you. It's a voicemail. I'm going to play it for you so you can comment on it. Here's the voicemail.
Hi, Dan. This is Analia at 3:30 on Wednesday, the 19th. I replied to your email regarding the 68th Street sidewalk project, and we left it as is in the CIP. But as you know, Councilmember Graham wanted to, stop it and, move the whatever budget we had to the future. But Greg said that he would want to finish the design. He did not say anything about the construction piece. So I know most of the budget is in this fiscal year. So the only thing I guess that is authorized to be spent this year is design. You want to give me a call back? Forward you Greg's email. It's my number 7227893. Thanks.
All right, and can you tell me, was that you on that voicemail?
Yes.
All right, I'd move the panel to admit Exhibit C into evidence.
Objection?
Done, Your Honor.
No
It'll be
objection.
admitted. C will be admitted.
All right, so now in that voicemail, it sounded like the project was on for design, but not for construction. Is that right?
No, I believe that email happened after the project had gone back to the original state.
Okay. And is the
Any
original state that it is authorized for design, or is the original state that it's authorized for design and for construction to start?
design and construction.
Okay. Was there a period when you thought maybe it was authorized only for design?
Yes, yes, that
Okay.
was right after the February 7th conversation. That email is done to respond then Danworth's question about whether the project was still intact or not. He wasn't sure because of all the email interactions.
And when you say because of all the email interactions, did all those start with Councilmember Graham's request to take it off?
Yes.
All right. I have no other questions of this witness.
Yes, Frank, we should go you next and then Tim.
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
All right, Tim.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Johnson. Now you said we talked a little bit about where Ms. Andrews was in this interaction on February 7th. And you said she was maybe by the door or maybe in the room. What is your best recollection of where she was?
I think she was sitting by the door. There is a chair right next to the door. So that's
Okay.
why I picture her on my right.
In the room.
In the room, yes.
Okay. And that's consistent with what you told Mr. Cassidy when you had your informal interview with him. Isn't that correct?
I will say yes.
Okay. Now we've been talking about the budget. And when you say the budget, this is the budget that is going to go to council. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so it really doesn't, and council can do whatever it wants with this budget. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so really it now maybe they just approve everything as is, right?
Yes.
Or maybe they completely change it, right?
Yes.
Okay, so basically we're talking about something that's just numbers on a sheet up till that point, correct?
I guess. I don't know. Yes, there are numbers on a sheet.
That may come to be or may not come to be, depending on what council decides.
In the case of this project, it was included, it had been already approved by council for last year. So
Right,
the
but
budget was there and it was included in the 5-year plan. So as of today, that project's budget is approved by council.
Okay.
The 2 years.
but that's the old budget, right? That's the approved budget.
The budget adopts a 5-year CIP plan. So next year's construction money is already adopted. So what we were doing there is to change it for next year's adoption.
To change it for next year, correct?
It was a change to the already adopted budget 5-year plan.
But a change that wouldn't happen until the next budget, is that correct?
Yes.
And the change that wouldn't happen only if council actually acceded to whatever that change was, correct? And you said there's three budget meetings. Can you just briefly, there's the tentative, is that correct?
First, we have we present the proposed budget to council. Then we do council tentatively adopts the budget, and in June they do a final budget adoption.
Okay, thank you. May I have a minute, Your Honor?
Absolutely.
Isn't going to be required. So I don't know whether he's on the line or not. I'm sorry for.
Well, Mr. Lasotto, can you just give us a sense of what you want him to talk about?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've already kind of heard it, but I do want him to talk about sort of how council members interact and the importance of allowing them to interact with with charter officers, in some cases with people who work for charter officers, things of that nature. And it would be brief. I don't know if he's on or not, but I think some of what he said would echo what Miss Andrews said. but I think it's a useful perspective in that, we're kind of talking about a conversation that occurred, well, several months ago. I don't think he has much to add to the actual conversation, but I think he has some, we did hear some testimony how it's unusual for a council member to talk to it, to talk to somebody like Miss Joe or Miss Johnson, and I think he could provide a little context.
What do the other panel members say?
I mean, I don't even know if he's, I guess if he's not on, it may be a moot issue. Do we know if he's
Yeah.
here?
I can email him again and ask him to jump back on if you'd like, but
I question whether this is helpful. I mean, I don't, the code itself says that you can interact. It just says you can't give them orders. So interaction, no problem. When that gets to an order, which is what I thought we have to decide is a different thing. I'm not sure what the city manager can add to that, but
James, what do you think?
I'm happy to proceed without him, but he's not my
Oh,
witness.
no, I meant Judge Mangum. There's so many
sorry.
James and Franks and Tims around here. Need some more Anglo-Saxon names, I guess. I don't know, but Judge Mangum, I kind of agree with Tim. But what do you think? You want to hear from him or what?
Tim's and James.
Judge, you're on mute. You got it.
I
There you
agree
are.
with both of you that the point Tim made was appropriate, but I think covered by what Tim says. It's a little bit outside the realm.
I tend to agree. So I think we understand what that status is. Okay, so let's go with Mr. Graham. Is he in your room, Tim, so we can see him? Or he's coming on. Okay, Mr. Graham, if you want to raise your right hand, you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Do
Thank you.
you want to mute yours?
I just muted it. So they should be able to hear you.
There's an echo because your speakers are still on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me
right,
a second.
right.
That should fix it.
Okay, very good.
Okay. So
Everyone can hear me. I hope and I
Yes.
trust.
we can hear you for sure. All right then. Here we
So,
go. Yeah.
sorry, Judge Fleischman. I had my computer on mute. Can I confirm that you can hear me, please?
Yes, we can
Okay.
hear you. Yeah,
Okay, very
we can hear you. All right, so Tim, if you're ready to ask the questions.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I don't see you for
Mr.
some.
Graham, can you just basically start on February 7th? Why don't you just take us through your interaction, starting with Miss Andrews? What time of day was it, just to start off?
Well, thank you, Tim, and thank you, Mr. Cassidy, and thank you, honorable panel members. I was going to read a statement, but I can answer questions as well.
Yeah, why don't you
Yeah.
just, we'll cover your statement, certainly.
Okay.
But what time of day was it?
It was early afternoon.
Okay. And so you're at the council office on Drinkwater, correct?
I work a lot of times from City Hall on Fridays, and just because I've got a full-time job, and so I can work there on Fridays, and I can meet with charter officers and meet with constituents and meet with our stakeholders that wish to meet with me. And so on this Friday, it was February, so my mindset, we're getting ready for the budget season. And so this was a extremely normal part of, in my mind, expressing my preferences about the upcoming budget that the council is going to be passing. We're going to be passing it here next week, final budget, and
Next week now.
next week now, early June. Yeah. So
Okay.
I want to get these requests in before as the budget's taking shape and developing.
Okay. But ultimately, nothing matters until council approves the actual proposed budget. Is that correct?
All it is just me submitting my request, sharing preferences.
Okay.
And
Now-
that's what I'm supposed to do. I mean, that's what That's what I'm
Right. I mean,
elected to do.
you're elected to do something, right? Okay. Now, all right. So at some point, you made contact with Miss Andrews. Is that correct?
We had a normal budget meeting. We sat down. We talked about having a sit down. We've had many sit downs since then about the budget, and and we did it the year before, and we did it the year before.
Okay. Now, at some point, you leave Miss Andrews' office. Can you take us through that?
I mean, it was just we were just talking about the 68th Street project. I was concerned about an eminent domain aspect because I knew it was early in that project, and I was just that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. There was something in the minutes about how I asked about parking garage, but I didn't ask about a parking garage. It was I was just requesting information about whether another project separate would remove parking spots from downtown, and then just general budget questions I had about. It was a normal budget meeting with with Charter Officer Tony Anders.
Okay. How long were you in that meeting initially?
I don't remember, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 34. I have to go back and look.
And you shared what you thought about the 68th Street project. Do you remember what you said?
Just that I was concerned about eminent domain aspect of it, a possible eminent domain aspect, and that concerned me. And I wanted to make sure I wanted to get to the bottom of whether that was part of that. In the CIP, there's so many projects. I mean, that we deal with. I mean, I between then and now, I've asked Sonia and shared preferences about many CIP projects. CIP is a huge component of the budget. We have an operating budget, and then the capital budget, and it's has a bit different different inflows of cash. And as far as we're selling bonds, and we got CIP debt, and then we do have some transfers from the general fund. So there's a lot of moving parts to it, and so I'm asking about a lot of projects that affect a lot of people.
Okay. But at some point, Ms. Andrews took you out of her office, and can you take us through what happened next?
Well, it's at that time we were meeting, and I asked about these two particular projects, and so she at her idea, her prompting, I should say, we went into Miss Zhu's office and to get more information about what the status was and find more information out about those.
Okay. And just now, Miss Andrews, in your recollection, did she remain for that meeting or whatever it was, interaction?
Oh yeah, she was right there the whole time.
Okay. I mean, you heard what she said. So she said, I think she was seated, but a little bit closer to the door, but in the office. Is that consistent with your recollection?
Excuse me. Oh yeah, she was right there the whole time. She made the introduction. She laid laid the foundation for what we were discussing, why we were there. I had met Analia Johnson before that. I'd made her acquaintance, and I was the first time I met Miss Zhu. I love meeting staff, and all my colleagues, we meet with charter officers and staff members all the time. So I'm always honored to meet who our city employees are. I interact with them all the time. All of my colleagues interact with city employees all the time because we're allowed to, we're supposed to. And so this was one more. I believe at that point, correct me if I'm wrong, but Miss Zhu was relatively new to the city workforce, and so I was excited to make her acquaintance, and I was friendly and polite. It was Friday afternoon, so people were kind of in good spirits.
How long were you in Miss Joe or Zhu's office?
Less than 5 minutes. It was the briefest encounter.
Okay. So you said hello to them, and what happened next?
I said hello, and then as I mentioned, Sonia laid the groundwork for why we were there and what we were asking for. I said absolutely nothing of substance at any point. In fact, I was a little bit. I remember thinking to myself, I was a little bit almost taken aback by Sonia's attentiveness to my request or my concerns about this project, because I never actually been escorted to a particular client where they would go and execute any documentation in the system. But I sat there, or I stood there I sat by, smiling, saying hello, pleasantries. I said absolutely nothing of substance during the extremely brief encounter.
Okay. So, and I know you've heard that there was some interaction that you said something to the effect of take it out while you were in that room, but that's not consistent with your recollection
No,
anyway.
no, definitely not. And any direction or requests, really, this is all just requests and expressing preferences, was to Sonia outside of that meeting.
Because we're talking about a proposed budget, and I mean, you you don't have the power to actually give an order as to a proposed budget, do you?
I don't have the power. I have the power to share preferences. It takes 4 members of the council to make these, these overarching decisions. And all of my colleagues, I expect do the same. I know they do, and they're supposed to. And but it's not something that I expect unilaterally to be able to do.
It's sort of like any sort of resolution. You can propose it, but it doesn't mean anything without 3 other members.
Well, every idea has to come from 1 member at least. I mean, it comes from a staff member, but a lot of ideas come from a council member, and you've got to start an idea somewhere. So, and this wasn't even excuse me, this wasn't this was largely just an inquiry. Excuse me again, because like Sonia mentioned, I was concerned about possible eminent domain component of that project, and so it was really just kind of like when I was with Sonia, in our meeting, it was, I said things like, I'm concerned about whether this has any eminent domain, and I'd like to really, maybe find out about that. So, can we look at that?
Did you ever give an order to Ms. Johnson?
No,
Did you ever give an order to Miss Joe?
no.
Okay. Now you said you had a statement. Is there anything else you think the panel should know about this interaction?
Um, well, I mean, I guess if I pull up my statement here, I'm very familiar with the ethics code and very confident that I did not violate it. I continue to maintain this complaint is totally meritless and filed with political animus. And I expect the honorable panel members to agree with the results of Mr. Cassidy's investigation that no ethics violation occurred.
Council meeting, say on the CIP, you're going to have this meeting next week. The CIP as proposed by staff is presented to you. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah,
And-
I should not. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Cassidy.
no worries. And at times, if you have a position about a CIP project, so for example, next week when you're talking about the CIP, isn't it fair to say that it's quite possible that you might ask the other council members to make adjustments to that CIP, right?
Yeah, you can do that. It's kind of late in the game, It's I mean, we're voting on the final budget. We had a meeting on the tentative budget, and we also had a meeting on the proposed budget. And so that's why I was getting an early start in February to express my preferences coming up, because this is a 2.2, over $2 billion budget, a lot of moving parts. And so you want to share your preferences earlier than later, because it's hard to make, it's hard to on the fly go like that and whipsaw staff around at these final budget meetings.
Is it fair to say that it's easier to get a change to the CIP if you're able to convince staff to make a change to the recommendation?
I mean, I don't know the answer. It's a good question. I don't know the answer, but the reality is that what choice do I have? But I have to express my preference, leading up to the budget.
So when you meet with Sonia, for example, Sonia Andrews, that's an early opportunity to try to convince a charter officer to make an adjustment in the recommendation that's going to come to council. Is that fair to say?
Um, it's up to them. I give them my requests. I give them my preferences. All their council members do that. All their council members across Arizona do that to their charter officers. And so it's really just about, it's just about being prepared instead of like surprising staff with, last minute changes at a council meeting, gotchas. It was really just kind of it's almost a courtesy and, uh, better planning, better governing. Does that answer your question, Mr. Cassidy?
Well, when you talk to Sonia, and then when she talks to Greg Caton, for example, the city manager, if they kind of agree with your recommendation, your suggestion, and they actually make a revision to the CIP, or the proposed CIP that comes to council, is it fair to say that that makes it easier for you as a council member to get your preferred outcome?
It all comes down to if I were to sit with Sonia or the city manager, Greg Caton, and say, I see this in the upcoming budget, but I have information for you about this project, or um, I, it's really up to city staff at that point. You could, yeah, I mean, it's another way. If you were to convince city staff that, substantively, or there was a problem, they could make a change to it, but it's up to them.
Well, and even if they make a revision to the proposed CIP, isn't it fair to say that once it comes back to the council, say for the tentative budget adoption, the council itself can say, you know what, we don't like that tweak. We want to make a different tweak. They can do
Yeah.
that. Fair to say.
Yeah, four members can tweak it or untweak it. Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
And so it's your testimony today that your interaction with Ms. Joe and Ms. Johnson was just informal and you didn't say anything about anything with these projects. Is that correct?
That's the best of my memory. I did not, and I've said that from the very beginning. I never said anything substantive, and my remarks were comprised of pleasantries. It was a Friday afternoon. I was happy to meet a new recent hire, Linda Zhu, and she was hard at work, and I was excited. I was pleased to meet her, and we were about to start our weekend, and so that was the entirety of my comments. Yeah, I'll leave it
Okay.
at that.
And I'm gonna share something with share my screen here, and I'm gonna show you Exhibit B, which was the CIP plan. Do you remember the testimony about this plan, the CIP program or whatever?
Yes.
And you will see that if we scroll down to this, it'll say that this is now. You'll see here February 7th, 1519. So that would be 319 for those who are non-military types. The project got removed, and it says move, and then the one below it says move to future per vice mayor. Oh gosh, scroll. There we go. Move to future per vice mayor request. Do you know why it says per vice mayor request to move that to the future?
I mean, I'm speculating at this point because I mean, and you remember Charter Officer Andrews' testimony? Her explanation for that was that I was just the higher authority in the room, and so um, I don't know why she would have said that, but as speculation, I can say that if I don't have any say over Linda Zhu and Analia Johnson's
Right.
evaluations or promotions. So I'm kind of a step away from where
Right.
they are. So, but this, I mean, I guess my speculation would agree with Sonia Andrews, and that was just that I was the higher authority in the room.
Okay. And you heard Ms. Johnson testify that this change that went in on February 7th, 2025, that you can see here on the CIP program, she suggested that happened like while you were talking to them in the room. Do you have any way of knowing whether that's true or false about whether they actually put the request to take it off the program while you were in the room?
Mr. Bart, can you zoom in just a bit?
Yeah.
Uh,
This
which part?
this project in question had a potential amendment created on 2/7/2025, but then it says, please note that when the project amendment was deleted on 3/5/2025, the project went back to its original state where it remains today.
Well, I think that Sonia kind of spoke to that. Is that's what she made the request, but I mean, you can even see right there. It's a potential amendment. It's just feedback given by a charter officer to her staff members. But this doesn't tell me who said it or who wrote it or when this was, time. This isn't time stamped that I can tell. So I mean,
Yeah, that's a good point. That's not timestamp. So if we have to go down here to find the timestamp, here we see the timestamp, the 2025-02/07/1519. You have any idea? Do you remember what time you were in their office?
like I told Tim Lasoda, it was early afternoon, so it would have been, so this is what, about 3:20.
3:20.
Um, and then how do you know that, where does so page number 213, how do you know the timestamp here relates to whatever was written up there?
Um, because this was a public records request about those projects, and also because you can see there's not many projects on here on this sheet, and the beginning notes tell us. But so for example, you can see here the highlighting helps because we have to go across these very long Excel
Yeah.
sheets. But here you go. So the yellow highlight, let's see, 68th Street from Arizona Canal to just south of Camelback. Let's see if it ever relates it to 213. 20R, that's not helpful. We do have it from Lena's Joe. Well, I guess we have to rely on the highlighting that was produced by the city.
Okay,
So
so are you assuming the highlighting means that like the sequence means that because it was highlighted, it matches that?
that's right. I'm assuming that highlighting is this project and that the pink highlighting is the next thing that happened, the thing that happened on 3/5 at 9:05.
I
Yeah.
mean, Mr. Barton, can you restate your question?
Sure. We heard testimony from Ms. Johnson that the change was put in essentially while you were in the office with them. And my question is, do you know if that's true or not?
We might need to pull that back up and see how much was written there because I was standing in the office. I don't remember a whole lot of keyboard activity, and my memory was that I think your speaker's on getting a little bit of echo.
Okay.
Is it made test?
There you go.
Okay, thank you. My memory was a little bit before that. I don't remember her, keying in substantive things in front of me.
Okay.
I'd have to go. I'd like to re-examine maybe those notes and see what the substances that she wrote because she probably want to think that through. But I again, I agree with Miss Andrews that she told them that if she prompted it, she told them what to do. And her memory is my memory. And I was there. I was smiling and I was sharing pleasantries, and I didn't say anything of substance.
Okay. And then just as a last thing, because you commented on your awareness of the ethics requirements, if you were to make a request of someone to do something with the proposed budget, even though it's a proposed budget, if you were to make a request of a subordinate of the city manager, that would be a violation of the ethics rules, right?
Objection calls for legal conclusion.
No, I think he's qualified to answer. You can answer, sir, if you can.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because all those, again, with Sonia, I was expressing preferences and making requests and asking and making inquiries. Those were all done with Sonia. I wouldn't do that with the city staff.
You would,
You are allowed to make inquiries with city staff, and every council member makes inquiries often. So, but in no way did I make it direct city staff members below.
your testimony is you did not make a request, right?
Correct.
But if you had made a request, it would violate the ethics code, correct?
The code is very clear. It says you cannot direct city staff. So, I mean, you can kind of get semantical about what is a request. Like if I tell a city staff member, if I request a city staff member to schedule an appointment with his constituent, am I violating the charter off the ethics code?
That's a fair question. Okay.
If I request information from a city staff member where the bathroom is, I mean, it's just you can make requests.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll revisit the language of the code to get clarity for the panel, but that's all the questions I have for this witness.
Any other questions?
A question.
Yes.
Councilman, when you were in the meeting with Miss Joe, did you make any request or direction or statement to Miss Andrews, the treasurer?
No.
So all of that occurred either before or after you were in Miss Joe's office.
Correct. Yeah, Miss Andrews was there the entire time. She led me in there. She introduced me. She set the stage for why we were there. And I was just smiling and making small talk and making their acquaintance. And everything I did was with Sonia Andrews before or after the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, all. Any other evidence other than, I mean, it's everything, we have no more witnesses, any evidence that has not been introduced?